June catch up is that time of month again where I'll wrap up everything that I watched in that particular month. June has been kind of crazy for me. I made 1 or 2 videos in June. I didn't really have much time. I was busy doing other stuff. So I try my best to watch as many things as possible to make this monthly video. But I missed a lot. I missed a lot of things. I think I missed a whole 2 weeks of June in June. So the things that I missed in June, I will try to catch up in July, August, or the upcoming months. And every time I do these videos, not every time, but I miss some movies. I always forget 1 or 2. I forget to talk about 1 or 2 movies. For example, last month in the May catch up, I believe I missed Rocket Man. I actually watched that movie, but I just forgot to talk about it. I forgot to put it on my list, so it just went over my head. Rocket Man, I watched it in Dolby. It was fun, and if you're wondering, I give it to probably go. I think it's worth the ticket price. You can go and watch it in the theater, and you will have fun with it. The performances are good, and that's it. Yeah, Rocket Man was fun time. So let's just jump into the June catch up, and as always, everything will be in the description. The timestamps of everything. You want to skip a part, you want to watch a certain parts. I don't want to waste your time. Everything, the timestamp. It's in the description. So let's just jump into it. The first list, I call it the stock it. I changed it from play it to stock it because I think it's a better representation of what these films are. I think that these are the movies or shows that you should probably just put it on your list, put it on your wait list, and then when you don't have anything to watch, you can put it on and watch it. I think I would say all things should be watched. Shows, TV, movies, shorts, documentaries. Try to watch as many things as you can. The first one being Ma. This film, I watched it in the first day of June, I believe, and excuse me if I forget a lot about the details. Of course I do know. The best thing about it, obviously, the Octavia Spencer's performance is terrific. She gets to play this psychopath almost like character who has a really troublesome past that where you don't really know about, and then it comes to view later in the movie as you understand her motivation and where she's coming from. This movie is about Octavia Spencer's character who bought some alcohol for these kids, and soon after her basement just become this place where the kids in town gets to go to party and get drunk and whatever. And soon we unravel some backstory about these characters that is quite dark. I don't have much to say about these films because these films are all like that. It's if you watch the trailer, it definitely spoiled too much. I watched it after the fact, but if you have watched the trailer, I would say the film is basically what you get. It's basically what the trailer promised in that, and there's really nothing much to it. I would say the first half, the first act, and the rising action, the entire first half of the film is a little bit sloppy, is a little bit lazy because the script really didn't set up these characters enough that we care. So when shits are going on, I really don't care about these characters. These characters are boring. These characters are almost unlikable. And also, when I was watching this film, I don't know why I noticed, but it is probably something that stood out to me. It's just the production set, the set design is so lifeless. I would say the set design are usually designed in a way where you don't notice it. It almost becomes seamless, and I think that is probably the level that any set designers are trying to achieve. And when you walk into someone's house, a character's house, you're supposed to have a sense of feeling of what these characters are, their backstories and whatnot. And in here, the set designs are just lifeless, is empty, and that's it. That's it. Everything that I have to say about this film. I would say go watch it because of Octavia Spencer, and that's it. Next one being Men in Black International, a film that I never thought it would exist, but it does, starring Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. They play off each other really, really well. They have chemistry in Thor Ragnarok, Avengers, and whatnot. They definitely had a chemistry together, and it worked. It worked super well in Men in Black International. That I would say probably the best thing about the film. But the biggest problem that I have with it is it doesn't capture that magical sense. That it doesn't capture that magic that was captured in the first three. The first one obviously being the best. The second and the third one, they went on a limb, but they still feel like Men in Black movies. It might be the presence of Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, in the third one being Josh Brolin, but it still worked, these characters. But in Men in Black International, I just thought this film, it feels so detached from everything else. That might be the things that they're going for, but I don't think it's a good thing for the franchise. The film is called Men in Black International, and it just feels like, oh, the filmmakers had this, it felt this sense of obligation of bringing these characters to different places, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's international. But there's really nothing much to it. The character of Tessa Thompson is also set up really, really poorly. She was not recruited like Will Smith did in the first one. She's just kind of this smart character to stumble across stuff, and then she finds this Man in Black, and all of a sudden she's in. And also the two main antagonists, I would say, of this film, they barely talk. They don't have anything going on for them. They're just characters. They're not even characters. They're just being. They're almost like being these shells that trying to push the story forward in no sense of why, any logic or any emotional punch. They are just there to punch some stuff. That's the antagonist of the film. I would say this though, Kumail Nanjiani, who voiced this little alien thing, he's pretty good. He's pretty good in the film. But as the film progresses, I really feel like it's such a waste of talents. We have such a good cast, but with a sloppy script, and it just doesn't feel right in that way. I thought the film was also missing a lot of wide shots. Everything was filmed almost medium or medium close up. It feels so claustrophobic. I don't know if they're going for it or not, but it just doesn't feel right. It visually is not appealing at all, for me at least. Men in Black International doesn't feel like a Men in Black movie like you received in the first three. But if you want it, watch it individually, consider it a reboot, then you'll probably have fun. Moving on to the streaming list, these are the films that I think you should stream it at home. You should wait for it, wait for Netflix, wait for Hulu, a streaming service, Amazon, whatever. Watch it at home. They probably don't deserve the ticket price, but you can just watch it at your home. The first one being The Perfection. The film is in Netflix. You can watch it right now. The film was fun. It wasn't anything mind-blowing or amazing. It's just something that is so fun to watch, especially it's on Netflix. Anyone can watch it by this point. The performances are all good. It's really well shot, and the filmmakers did a really good job at keeping this movie fresh at all times. There's at every scene or after every sequence, there's always something waiting for you. You always wonder what's gonna happen next, and they kept the entire film fresh. Really good. Steven Weber, an actor that I really liked. He has such a screen presence that I can't really explain. Every time he's on screen, there's something going on. He's a great screen presence. And this film is really good at manipulating us, the audience. It knows how to make the audience feel whenever, however, and whatever at any given point. They know how to manipulate us in that certain way, which I thought was really interesting. It also has a theme of giving us the peek behind the curtain and see what's really behind it and how it reflects to our modern society, which is definitely interesting. Go watch The Perfection. It's on Netflix. I do recommend it. It's very twisted, and sometimes it gets a little bit disturbing, but you know, it's a good time. Next one being Always Be My Maybe. This film wasn't on stock. It might as well be on the stock list because I only watched it because of Keanu Reeves. That's it. I watched it. I know Keanu Reeves is gonna have this cameo in it, so I watched it, and that was the best part of the movie. But at the end of the day, it's still on the streaming list just because of that scene. But everything else, it feels really generic, a generic rom-com that you would expect from Netflix. The two main characters are fine. Their performances are all fine, but it just didn't buy this Sasha character as a chef. For the entire film, I just don't buy her as a chef. She never came off as a chef. It just feels like this occupation that we just have to give it to her in order for this movie to feel a little bit more special than it is. It is very Americanized, and it does use music as a crutch. Everything that we expect from Netflix rom-com, it's in here. But Keanu Reeves is in it, so that's a win-win for me. I see this as an absolute win. The next one being The Secret Life of Pets 2. The film that I never thought would exist. The best thing about the film is the fact that it exists. That is the best thing. I would never expect a few years later we'll get a sequel to the film that we already got. There are a lot of problems that I can point out in the film. Like the film I put it is a scattered mess, and literally a scattered mess because the entire story is all over the place. We have scene here, scene here, scene there. Everyone is doing different stuff. There are also a lot of characters that are underused. They're just put it in the background, or we just get the little scenes with them, and that's it. And for example, the prologue of the film really sets up another movie. The prologue of the film doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the film. It sets up a completely different plot. But then it gets like this bait and switch where the prologue tells this thing and the entire film tells another thing. But we can talk about the shortcomings about this film all we want. But at least the film is consistent. It is consistent with the first one. It's consistent all throughout. Next one being Annabelle Comes Home. A lot of the critics and people seem to like this movie, at least like this movie. I thought the film was a little bit disappointment, though it has a lot of fun stuff in it. But the story is such ass. There's really no story here. It feels like a Possession of Hannah Grace situation where a character just wander around a place and then hear some creepy noise and leading up to a jump scare for the entire movie. Annabelle Comes Home feels like that. It doesn't feel like a Conjuring universe film, whereas The Nun, as bad as it is, it still feels it belongs in the Conjuring universe. This film feels like you can take the Annabelle doll and replace it with another doll and it's just another horror movie that you watch. The setup is slow. You can consider the entire film as a setup as well, but the setup is really slow. There are a lot of music that doesn't fit, where one scene we're into some horrible shit, cut to next scene where some happy music is playing in the background. It just doesn't flow like that. I would say this, the third act was pretty exciting. The third act was fun. It's not, though there are a lot of jump scares in it, the third act was fun. The cinematography of the entire film was also really good. There are a lot of shots where, that's a really good shot. And one of the most important things about making a scary horror film is cinematography, and they absolutely did their part in that category. But the biggest complaint, yes, I call it a complaint about this film, is really the script. There's no story. The characters are so unlikable. But somehow Annabelle Comes Home has this bad habit of conditioning the audience, conditioning us, the watchers, the viewers, into thinking that every suspenseful scene is leading up to a jump scare or a comedic relief. That's not a good thing in a horror movie, because every time when you set up something that is supposed to be scary, you condition us into thinking, this is not scary. So then we give up and check out every time before the release. How many times are we going to get a false jump scare? How many times are we going to get a loud, over-the-top jump scare? They're not scary. They're never scary. They're annoying. And the sound mixing of this film is also really annoying. McKenna Grace is awesome. Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are also awesome. They have a little bit of screen time, and that's it. But when they're on, it's freaking awesome. And that's it. The good thing about it, cinematography, the cast, that's it. And it also sets up a lot of spin-off, which can be fun, but we'll see what happens next. The last one on the streaming list is Dead to Me Season 1. Obviously, I watched the show. It's on Netflix right now. If you want to stream it, go watch it. Obviously, I watch it just because the two main performances, because that's probably the best part of the entire show. The acting is excellent, is terrific in this one. It's just really fun to see these characters play off each other, how they listen to each other, and how their chemistry work together. Each character has a distinct voice that you can connect with. At least when two characters are talking on paper, you can know, okay, who's talking to who without naming any of their names. That's a good thing. However, it does feel like a soap opera at times. It's 10 episodes, each episode maybe about 30 minutes or 20 something minutes. It does feel like a soap opera where the characters constantly has to have this stiff dialogue where she or he reminds us of what just happened 1 episode ago or 10 minutes ago. And it feels like a soap opera that doesn't end, but it does have an end that sets up another season. So I guess just watch it for the performances, but if you really don't care about any of those things, then you don't probably just stock it. Next list being the go to the theater list. These are the films that I think is worth the ticket price. You pay the ticket, go to the theater, have a good time. The first one being The Dead Don't Die. I would say that it's pretty divisive. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. But I really enjoyed this movie. I really, really like this movie. Like Patterson, The Dead Don't Die is kind of like that, but with zombies in the background, and the message that they're trying to send with these zombies theme is interesting, and that's probably pretty much how I would approach the material. The cast is awesome. It has a really big cast, And that's another reason that why I really wanted to watch this movie. The cast was great. And if you enjoy the humor in Patterson, or I haven't watched anything else from the director, I believe, but if you do enjoy some of those dry, boring sense of humor in Patterson, you would enjoy the hell out of the Dead on that, because there are a lot of dry humor in it. I thought it was funny. I thought the film was funny, and there are some jokes that didn't land, but I definitely realized that they were making a joke there. But most of the time, I really enjoy the humor. It's just so cringy. It's almost like a stand-up comic where the comic is bombing, but he himself is having a good time. The Dead Don't Die humor is kind of like that. There are also a few subplots in the film that just didn't go anywhere. There's this subplot with 3 kids running away from CDC, and then that story just leads to fucking nothing. So there are definitely a lot of things that they can cut out. The pacing is suffered from that. The film is about 100 something minute. I think they can cut it to like 95. You can save a lot of time with it. The pacing will be a lot faster. The film will be more interesting in that way. And at the end, the film got to a point where it's just fucking strange things happen, but you don't care anymore. And that's just the feeling that I really liked about it. The last one on the list is Anna. Critics didn't like this movie. Apparently, it got like 20 or 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously, people don't like it. If people say, this is a Red Sparrow, this is like a wannabe Atomic Blonde or whatever. The action of this film is not as good as Atomic Blonde, obviously, but it's still a really fun time to me. Though they could do a lot more actions in the film. It's definitely lacking like action sequences. It's just like a few, considering it's an action movie, but whenever the actions are going on, it's actually quite fun to watch. The choreography is good, the stunts are good, and the main performance is terrific here. And it just feels like Luc Besson is definitely having fun with the film, with the writing process and directing it. The film is told in a non-chronological order where something happens and then nope, three months later, or it happened 3 years later, this happened, that's why this happened, and then the story continues, and then this happens, and then you thought that happened, and then we cut to 3 months earlier, and then give us another context about why this scene happened, and then we continue on, and then it happens over again. At least it kept me interested for the entire film. The film is about 2 hours. There's definitely a lot of things that they packed into the 120 minutes in the film. A lot of things they packed in, but I never got bored watching it. And that's a good thing. Some of the nitpicks I can have with this film is really the conflict of the film. There's never a clear stake. There's never a clear consequence where if our character doesn't achieve her goals, some consequence is going to happen. There's never a clear stake. There's never a clear conflict throughout the entire film that strings everything together. And to sum up, the downside I have with this film is really the main character. It feels like we have this boring character, and we're gonna put her into these twisted, interesting situation and give her a good plot to work with, but essentially is still a boring character. And I think if they spend their time working on the Anna character and flesh this character out and develop this character properly, this film would have been really, really good. The final list is the must-watch. These are the films that are must-watch. These are the best of the months, and you should definitely go watch it however you can. If you missed it in theater, watch it at home. Just definitely watch it. We only have one, and this is the last movie of the video, is Toy Story 4. I was really cynical about this movie because when they announced it, I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. Well, not necessarily that this is gonna suck. It just feels like the Toy Story trilogy ended on a perfect note where I really don't see them continuing the story. The perfect trilogy is just perfect. They had to make a fourth one where it can be a risk on the fourth one just gonna tank the entire trilogy. So when they announced it, I wasn't happy about it. I was like, just stop, just stop with the old franchise and make new ones. And every time these franchises try to make a fourth one from a trilogy, it's a risk. It's always a risk. Men in Black, the first trilogy, it wasn't that terrible, but the Men in Black International has been probably the worst Men in Black movie. And Toy Story 4 is the complete opposite of that. It's not the best, but it's a damn good movie. I watched it 3 times by this point. That's right, I went to the theater to watch Toy Story 4 3 times, And the first one the first time I teared up. The second time I cried. There's actually a tear coming down my face, and I don't remember the last time it happened. Not Toy Story 3, not Inside Out, not Love Simon. I don't remember the last time where I watched the film and it made me cry. I don't remember that. The reason why is the second time I watched it I cried is because I know what's gonna happen. With the first time viewing in mind, everything that is in the film is leading up to this final choice that the filmmakers made at the end of the film, and it definitely got me. It definitely got me. The animation is stunning, probably the best Pixar I've ever given, better than Finding Dory. The only competition I would say Incredibles 2, but I feel like Toy Story 4 is probably the best animation we ever gotten from Pixar visually. If you love these characters, if you grew up with Toy Story and love these characters, there's really no reason to not watch this movie. But before you walk into this movie, I just want to give you a warning, is that this movie is probably not gonna be the movie that you expect it to be. The film mainly focused on Bo Peeps and Woody, and also the new character Forky. There are a lot of characters that you can argue is underused, like Buzz Lightyear and his story with Woody and the gangs. You can definitely say that. It's definitely arguable, and I do agree with that. But at the end of the day, the film is about Bo and Woody and their storyline and their character arc. Once you watched it and watch it the second time, I think you will appreciate this movie a lot more. Are they making a fifth one? By this point, anything can happen. I really like Toy Story 3 felt like a perfect point to end the story, but then the 4 came. Why not a 5? Maybe 10 years later we'll get a Toy Story 5. We'll see. And that concludes the video and everything that I will be talking about in this video. Thank you for watching this video. I know it's not a big list. It's a relatively short video comparing to other monthly catch up. I will try to catch everything in July and August, so stay tuned for that. I've been busy in June, and I will try to pump up some videos in July and August. There are a lot of things that I'm still in research process. I'm still working on. I would say just still in pre-production. So I will try to get them out in July. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next month in the July catch up next month, and thank you for watching. Bye.